Okay, it says we're live, and I'm waiting for Fix to tell me that she's getting a signal. She is watching today, but I'm also watching the chat in case somebody beats her to it. And y'all know I start a couple minutes early because I've had issues. So let's see what happens. Thanks, Boomer. For those of you that may not remember, Fix, I refer to her as my favorite boomer online because she can't call me her pet name. Ah, Luke Squatch, I saw you in the chat. Not ignoring you guys. As a matter of fact, I'm not exactly sure what OBS is, but I know AV is audio visual, and I know that term, and I'm not sure if you're actually allowed to say that on YouTube right now. And Luke, you know what? If you keep showing up like this, I'm going to have to make you a moderator. Do you really want to be a moderator? Yeah. You know I'm joking, right? I'm actually very surprised Luke could make it today because I forgot to send out the notifications manually. And I still got 5 minutes. And the truth of the matter is, like 99% of the people can't make it live anyway. And of the remaining 1%, 99% don't think to check because I'm live on Thursday mornings, right? It was a great theory at the time. It's not working now. That's on me. Unlimited power. You do not have unlimited power. I know how much power a YouTube mod has. So I'm going to wait a couple more minutes and just sort of chatter a little bit. Couple of minor housekeeping issues. I'm still trying to figure out my format after a full year. So this is not actually a good thing, but I'm beginning to think maybe it's going to do a couple minutes on the act, then a couple minutes on Get Home Bag, and then I'm going to go into the news and the rants for the week. I'm beginning to think that might have been a better plan. So still 5 minutes. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and start because I am the way I am. And while the chat is going to be available, and I'll go back over it, I have got to switch to the other screen share. Oh boy. Okay. Apparently you got to stop the screen to switch the screens, which tells you how long it's been since I've done this. Windows. Because I don't actually remember where I left off. That's not what I wanted. Sorry, guys. Okay, that's better. Sort of. Man, I have no clue what I'm doing today. Okay. Anyway, I'm just going to go general provision. I'm going to start off with general provisions. Section 2, intent of the act. The intention of the act is to provide framework for the enforcement of the act by law enforcement of the United States and for the lawful obedience to the act by residents of the United States. The people of the United States shall not be held hostage to antisocials who, being by description criminals, ignore gun laws. All legal residents of the United States are required at all times when not in their homes or temporary domiciles to possess a weapon as defined below. Okay, short version. Unless you're qualify for an exemption. If you're in the US, you have to obey this law. All right. General definitions. I'm going to actually do a complete video on this alone, but it gives a difference between firearms and basically everything else. It defines assault weapons, and if you can give me a better definition than this that I can't get around by clever engineering or much more clever language, by all means, do so. I invite such challenges. And the only thing I've gotten so far is a shit post about, you mean assault rifle, and that also requires selective fire and intermediate cartridge. I think maybe he got the order the other way around. That was on Twitter, and I got twattered down the road like 5 years ago, so I don't give a shit. Anyway, establishes a definition for machine gun. Any firearm fed by continuous feed system. Autocannons, rotary cannons, and I made a point of it to include body armor in the definitions because that will be covered. If you have body armor, good for you. Good luck to the cop that writes that ticket. I know that there's a couple more definitions I should probably include, but I don't know what they are yet. In short, you've got to meet these standards. All right. I am going to read assault weapon, any firearm fed by a magazine detachable without the use of tools, capable of discharge by design alone 2 or more rounds per singular trigger activation. Right? That's like version 4.0 or some shit like that, where, well, what about this? What about that? All right. I will go back and reassess the trigger definition. That was the one that really pissed me off. Somebody say, well, if it's electronic, then it's not a firearm, is it? Whatever, boomer. But yep, and there you go. Make sure there's not. Oh, it also covers other protective gear. It does define magazines and suppressor or silencer. I covered them both now. So you can go to your NRA representative or some shit like that. I don't give a fuck. Anything else that's actually important? That is good. Here you go. Share screen, Windows, chat, share that. Oh, yeah, actually select it. Okay. Am I still streaming? What's going on? Okay. Well, apparently I am still streaming. So I'm just going to keep on pretending like I am until I see something. My screen seems to have frozen, and I do not know why. Worse is I can't get it to close. Um, uh, okay, now what? Okay, guys, I'm going to restart the stream and see what happens. And give me a second, and I'm really sorry about this. Okay, so far so good. Oh, yes, you can clip this. It appears that this was my computer and not the YouTube gods. So I'm going to get the chat back up and running. Control H. Ah, shortcut. Ooh, wait. Be hopefully better. All right, I'm really sorry about that, guys. My computer is dangerously overwhelmed because I cannot afford a external hard drive right now. All right. Oh, I can barely afford a haircut. Everything back online. That's the best I'm going to do. All right. So, quick. Okay, I don't think I understand OBS now. Chainmail is covered. Yes, you can clip this and remix it. I don't care. And the powers that be. I'm now caught up. All right, guys, I'm really sorry about that. All right. So I'm 5 minutes in. I'm going to cover something very important. The breaking news is that there was at least one incident in Kabul last night and possibly sometime yesterday. I'm not exactly sure what happened when. I know I heard about something yesterday around lunchtime. That would be uh, basically 1100 my time. And now about 25-ish minutes ago, I heard about something else that happened last night at the same location that was predicted or talked about yesterday. So it is what it is. And it is a sign of a lot more of what's to come. There's been an aspersion made that everybody that we're bringing from Afghanistan is a terrorist. I dispute that aspersion. I dispute that claim. I'm sure some of them are bad people, right? But at least the people that helped us, we owe it to them to do for them something that they did for us before. And since this is a crisis of our own making, which I'll get to in a minute, we owe it to them. It's as simple as that. We wouldn't be in this position but for what I'm going to get into in a minute. All right. So say a prayer for what's left of Afghanistan after Iran completes their invasion, and get ready because it's going to happen again, and it's going to be about 5 years, maybe. We might be 3 years. All right, last week's live stream. What happened? Just a couple of the topics I'm covering now were from last week. Excuse me. Um, California is going through some really nasty political earthquakes. These are the worst I've ever heard of. And I survived the Gray Davis recall, which, by the way, I voted no on. Um, I I remember Gray Davis as the guy that stood up to the California legislature and said, "No, fuck you. You don't get your paychecks until the state employees get theirs." That's the Gray Davis I remember. Um, I also don't know anything about this myth about the Gray Davis who caused the rolling blackouts. I remember that was Pete Wilson. So don't try and say that I'm rewriting history. I remember exactly the way it really happened. I voted no on the deregulation process, by the way. I'm going to close that for a moment because I'm into the groove. Now there are mayors being recalled. There are city councils members being recalled. I happened to get the feed out of Chico, and I know what's going on there too. Papa Carey is still in Shasta County, right? His house was 100 yards from the car fire on one side and the Zog fire on the other. That tell you the general range where he lives? And so he's telling me what's going on in Shasta County. Last week, or week before that, after the live stream, I uploaded a video about what's going on in Shasta County. It was a county resident who went before the county board of commissioners and made a statement. Now, I can't tell you what that statement was on YouTube, but I can tell you that it had a lot to do with the board of supervisors recall move. The entire board of supervisors apparently is being recalled, and there's some really dirty, nasty guerrilla tactics being used here, right? The people, the corporations that support the current board of supervisors are trying to get the organization that's getting them recalled shut down as a business, as a corporate body, by pointing out some filing irregularities. Well, they don't exist. They're trying to get the leader of one of the, actually 3 corporate bodies, incarcerated for the rest of his life over a shooting that apparently they initiated. Not the guy who's leading this recall. No. People opposing the recall, and specifically an employee of one of the board of supervisor members who got into apparently a full-on gunfight. I know my details are sketchy because I'm getting them from Papa Carey, who's not in the best position to know either. And that was the words he used. I'm not in the best position to know, but here's what I heard. Oh, that's what really happened, huh? Somebody, and I happen to know this individual semi-professionally. Um, Went in front of the board of supervisors talking about the things that are getting them recalled. You know, the things that if they stopped doing that, they wouldn't be getting recalled to begin with. And YouTube put me in jail for a week. So I got out. I think it was Sunday, but as a little extra care and caution, I stayed off for until now. It is what it is, guys, and I'm sorry. All right, so that is done. So the Afghanistan collapse. This is entirely a crisis of our own making, and I'm gonna. One thing I have to be is honest. If I lie to you guys one time, I'm in deep shit, right? This is something that the the withdrawal itself did start dawning. I remember hearing him announce that and saying, "This is a bad idea. This is a really bad idea. You should not even be talking like this." And that he was talking about a date. I'm thinking, well, he'll be reelected then, so maybe he'll be able to drag it out or find something to get out of it. But I did remember saying this is a bad idea back then, and now it's being done. The way it's being done is so insane that I don't really understand. Um, I mean, the U.S. withdrawal from Vietnam was better coordinated than this. The British pullout from France in 1941, Dunkirk, was better coordinated than this. I don't understand how you can fuck up something this simple, this badly, especially. Um, and we have nobody to blame but ourselves. Every last one of those refugees, that is our fault, and we need to own it. Every single massacre that happens in Afghanistan for the next 40 fucking years, that's our fault. We need to own it. It gets worse. Can you believe this? It gets worse. All right. Last night, something that everybody said was going to happen sooner or later did happen. Absolutely happened. There's no question or doubt. What happened last night happened. And a lot of people are suffering as a result of exactly that. This is why you don't pull out of allies under any circumstances. And for those of you that say we should have pulled out years ago, okay, well, then we should have pulled out from Germany in the 1990s. We should have pulled out of Japan in the 1980s, and we should never have been in South Korea at all. No correction. We should have pulled out of South Korea in 53, 52, 54 rather, somewhere around there. All right. So you want to have one rule for one type of people and another rule for another type of people, then you need to admit what's behind that kind of rule. And yes, I just accused the entire left of judging people's worth by the color of their skin. Period. End discussion. I've also accused some on the right of judging people by the color of their skin. There it is. Love me, hate me, I don't give a shit. I'm going to tell you the truth. We're pulling out of Afghanistan because those people are not worth fighting for. And by the way, those people is a euphemism for a racist term that the first time I heard it was fixed bayonets. She's Afghan. Go argue with her. Um, there is no fixing the Afghanistan situation now. It's unfixable. The um, the Taliban, up until the time of the invasion, the 2001 invasion, and I'm just going to say invasion, and Iran apparently were not very friendly terms. Things changed. They had a common enemy. Iran wants to destroy the United States. That's it. They're willing to work with people that they hate to make that happen. They worked with the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. They worked with ISIS in Iraq. And they still do, but not in Iraq. Um, they've worked with Mexican drug cartels. Yes, that is actually a proven fact. They'll work with anybody who hates the United States. It's as simple as that. Luke, I'm not exactly sure what 3 years means. And Squatch, I'm not exactly sure what pro level recovery means, but I think that refers to me. I am going to check something because it seems to have. Squatch said, don't forget, folks, dislikes are just as powerful as likes. I dispute that, but it's an interesting point. So emote, argue, and hate watch. Hey, I'll take the hate watch. I don't give a fuck. You want to hate watch me? Hell, turn your camera on. I'll let you in. There's like 3 exceptions in the known universe, and there are people that I know are watching now who know who some of those exceptions are. And it is all interaction. Okay. And the live chat in the stream is working after all. So, guys, I worry about losing my signal all the time. And today I just had a computer collapse. So, I am a little bit nervous. In case you haven't guessed, I'm not a pro at this. All right, the next part of what didn't happen last week. Why did nation building in Afghanistan not work so that the Afghan army did almost to a man abandon their posts? We didn't try, first of all. It is fair to say that a big chunk of the Afghan government was openly corrupt, grifters, embezzlers, drug kingpins. This is not a secret. The drug lords of Afghanistan, the fact that we knew about it, was a subplot in an episode of Law and Order back in 2000. Well, I know Barack was in office, but he wasn't reelected. So sometime between 2008 and 2012, right? It's not a secret. We've known it. We didn't really try to excise those people because that's the way that part of the world does work. That's the truth. All right? You've got a strong man in charge of a country or a region or a territory, and that's it. And if you're not willing to work with that system, you're not going to get anywhere. Kind of gets worse than that. We tried to force them to change to a new system that is incompatible with their whole psychology, right? We were taking people from one region, one territory, who would join the Afghan army and sending them somewhere else, 1,000 miles away. They have no loyalty to this region. And their loyalty to the nation of Afghanistan was kind of shaky. We should have built this up as basically, I think it's 8 mini states united under one general flag, kind of like a National Guard. I mean, that's the best analogy I can give. A National Guard and states under a confederation. And we didn't do that. We did the exact opposite. And it wasn't going to work to begin with. That's why nation building in Afghanistan failed. And it's the reason why nation building in Iraq failed. And ISIS was able to get as far in as they did. They were literally a month away from taking the entire country. And now, the Taliban is days away from taking the entire country. There's been like 5 successful contestations to the takeover. Where's that going to get them? The Taliban will be in control of that entire country, well, by the end of this month. Yeah, and you know what? Let's give it a little, let's say the end of next month. The fact that we pulled all air support for the Afghan National Guard, Afghan Army rather, didn't help things any. The fact that we left civilians and Afghans who had collaborated with the United States behind, it's making things worse. Not to put too fine a point on it, but some of Fix Bayonet's family is amongst those collaborators. And the last she heard, which was Friday, I think, there was still no word from these cousins, I guess they are. What are we going to do? Don't do it that way. All right. All right. I beat up on what should have happened last week enough. Oh, and I got to beat up on one more thing. Last week there was an incident at the Library of Congress, apparently. There was a live stream of this incident from the incidenters, is that a word? Point of view. I do have a copy of that. It's one of the reasons why my computer is so overloaded and crashed earlier. I have so many of those things that I can't put out there because YouTube will strike the channel. What am I going to do with it? I'm pretty sure that this was a red herring. I'm looking at it, trying to see it objectively. I think the guy was faking it all along. He just wanted to scare and annoy and bother a lot of people really fast. What I would have said last week is this was a very scary development, and we should be very wary of these sorts of people. Now, I'm not so sure. I think he was shit posting the whole time. It's the fact that he basically surrendered without a fight. Yes, he sat there in his truck for 8 hours or whatever the fuck it was. I don't care. But yeah, I think that this was a publicity stunt the whole time. Hey, Squatch, that's what avatars are for. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to this week. Joe Biden last week signed an executive order, and I'd like y'all to really pay attention here because this is going to be a very strange little story. Last week, Joe Biden signed an executive order banning Russian ammo for a year. Okay, well, first of all, what it bans is ammo sales from a Russian company to an American company. Okay, and it's only 1 year. All right, so Russians sell the same ammo to, say, an Italian firm. That's not a Russian company's ammo anymore. It might have been made in Russia, but it's now an Italian firm's product that they can ship anywhere they want. Gets worse. We have basically a 2-year supply of Russian ammo in the United States, and there's at least 6 months worth of applications for imports that have been approved. Can't stop those. So we would have at least a year and a half to dwindle that supply. That's an interesting detail. A ban that's only good for 1 year, going up against an inventory that will last a year and a half. What? What is this? Is this a joke? And a ban that effectively will only last 6 months to begin with. Is this a joke? Well, no. First of all, it was to try to take pressure off the administration from the base about what he fucked up in Afghanistan. And Regular Gun Guys does get into that a little bit. For those of you that follow the fascist book page, I did include a link to that, and I will in a comment. So why did he do this? Well, to take, first of all, to take pressure off of his fuck up in Afghanistan, which is huge. It's the biggest military blunder in U.S. history, a diplomatic blunder, every blunder all at the same time. And to just straight up pander to his own constituents. Now, I said own constituents because, yeah, he doesn't actually have any of the support he wants us to believe he has. It's not there. I'm seeing absolute leftists question the fact that this was on Discord. There was somebody asking, is this guy really living? Yeah, the body's breathing, but that's about it, right? It's not just that he's old and doddering. If this were any other situation and somebody were being treated the way he was, the people around him would be getting charged with elderly abuse. And I've seen that happen before. I've actually seen that happen before. One of my uncles was in the hospital. Power of attorney went to one of his sons. The son abused that power of attorney just to an ugly degree. I'd never heard of a worse degree until now. And the son did 2 years in prison for it. My cousin was in prison for 2 years because he sold a couple $1,000s worth of tools. Joe Biden's handlers have literally committed treason, and nothing's happened to them. I wonder why. Okay. Squatch says, I think it's phrased eliminate sale of Russian-made rounds, regardless of ownership or possession. I may be standing corrected there. And yeah, 7th Cavalry. Interesting history. By the way, if you can access your lives, or you can access the chat, please say hi, Boomer. Right. Let us assume that Squatch is right. Russian-made ammo. Well, we still will have at least a 2-year supply in the U.S. with only an effective 6-month ban. Yeah, this is not about public safety at all. This was pretty much brazen pandering to the lowest common denominator of the leftist community through their gun control supportive ideas. And I can say this because what? I used to be a gun control supporter. Remember, never, ever try to fool me about gun control. I've been there. I've done that. I know better. Oh, hi, Alpine. Thank you. You missed the rant about why I was in jail last week. YouTube jail, that is. I've been to jail before, but not last week. Also, RGG pointed out that we have a whole lot of options on dealing with this. Now, first of all, there's going to be this impulse to race out and buy all the Tula, all the Wolf, or whatever that you can lay your hands on. Don't give in to that. If you have 4 whole boxes of Russian ammo, don't give in to the impulse. All you're going to do is drive those prices sky high. We know this because of what happened last year, and I join Fit and Fire here in saying, cheaper than dirt, you're dead to me. Don't give in to that impulse. What may also happen, first of all, this opens up a huge market that American ammo makers may want to get into very, very quickly. It will take them about 2 to 3 months to be able to convert a current munitions line that maybe isn't doing as well, or maybe is oversaturated anyway, to mostly 7.6239 or 5.45 or 1, I think. Manufacturing that's a huge potential market. It's also going to open up a lot of room in the reloading market. As a few have pointed out, amongst some carnal conservative, if you can get primers. Thank you, Luke. Apparently, 545, 54 Romeo. Okay. So, tells you how much I know Russian munitions. The only Russian gun I actually have anything other than a vague disdain for is a Dragunov, sort of, and the SKS, very much. Um, that's the truth. Yeah, and if you think I'm kind of babbling here a little bit, well, it's because I missed last week. Oh, excuse me. Effectively speaking, there is no ban. There, I've said it out loud. Effectively speaking, there is no ban. This is just a really, really good con job. And what he's hoping is that nobody looked behind the curtain. Well, the first thing I did when I realized there was a curtain, stick my head back there and start poking around to see what the hell this was. And sure enough, oh, yeah, there's no ban. It's pure theater, and it's embarrassing. I don't know which one of his handlers told him that this was a good idea, but that individual needs to be drug out to the Rose Garden with Secret Service around the perimeter and a tent set up and beaten like a pinata. Whoever told him to do that is an idiot. It's an absolute moron. Not only should they not be in public office, they shouldn't be anywhere near government facilities in general, except on their own private official business, like talking to the Social Security Administration about their SSI check. Yes, they're that stupid. The bad news. For about 6 months, there will be no imports. Excuse me. Or very, very minimal. The good news is, unless we panic buy everything on the shelves, there won't be any effect. You won't even notice. Okay, so I am now 30 minutes in. Great, good. I got to do an hour and a half now of making shit up as I go along. You know, one of these days I'm going to actually have a full-fledged plan. Speaking of full-fledged plans, I said I was going to be talking about get home bags. So I'm going to start up on that now. First of all, is your everyday carry. This is not actually an everyday carry. No. Do you really think you can walk around the office with this bag on your back and do your job? That's ridiculous. It's stupid. Hey DJ, um, and thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, the idea of carrying a backpack or even my messenger bag around all day is pretty ridiculous. Also, you don't really want parts of your everyday carry buried at the bottom of a bag if you can avoid it. Um, so, in reference to everyday carry, cut it down to something to a kit you could actually carry, at least in theory, in your pockets. No problem at all. That's about the limit of your everyday carry. When I say your pockets, I mean assume that you're either wearing normal pants or you're carrying a purse for ladies. If it can't fit in those pants or that purse, you're going to have to figure out something else. That's why I cut it down as far as I did. It's just a gun, spare ammo. I can come back to that later. Multi-tool, pocket knife, and emergency goggles. I like the folding goggles because they can fold up, be much smaller and more compact. Why goggles? Because if you have a situation where you need to protect your eyes, like, I don't know, a dust storm. We had we had a pretty good wind come through yesterday. They kicked up a lot of dust, and I'm sitting there, shit, because I didn't have my goggles on me because I was stupid and left them at home. Anyway, um, so yeah, just the very, very lightest things that you would need the fastest. Bandages is good. A couple bandages is not a bad idea at all, but keep it as light as you can get it. All right. The next step, and I'm going to talk about this for a couple minutes, your get home bag. I'm going to talk about philosophy behind get home bag. And this is going to anger a lot of people. I don't care. Again, I got to tell you the truth. As you're building up your kit, your first thought should always be, what are my intentions? And why am I doing this? If your intentions are literally anything other than get home, you need to think about what you're doing and why you're doing it. Now, my get home bag might be a lot heavier than some people need. And I'm specifically talking about the newest piece, the sleeping bag I finally found. And yes, it'll be part of the kit, but I'll get to that eventually. Um, if your intentions are anything other than just to get home with possibly having to stay out one full night, you're doing it wrong. Right? You're maybe planning on a 72-hour kit or a bug out bag or something of that sort. I don't even believe in bug out bags personally, so um, you need to scale it down and start saying, can I get rid of these? Can I get rid of those? Or why am for my own kit, I included a pair of very light duty work gloves and a pair of medium duty work gloves and 3 other sets of working gloves. I'm going through this. Why is this here? Why is that here? Why is that there? Hey, hold up. Which one is most likely to be most useful? I picked that one set. Everything else is gone. It was the lightest set of leathered working gloves. And actually, there's a particular brand and model that I picked. When I first bought this kit, it was a 4-man, 1-day kit. So it had 4 pairs of those big, heavy duty gray leather working gloves, work gloves. What was intended for 4 men. Okay, great, good. I don't need those, and those are too heavy to be practical. I got rid of those. It's one of the first things I threw out. That's the second thing I threw out. The first thing I threw out was the goggles that they included that were probably a great idea back in the 90s when they were first putting this together. Not so good now. They were too big, too heavy, and too cumbersome. This is also a commercially available pack. You can find them at Walmart. You can find them at Lowe's. You can find them at Home Depot. Sometimes you can find them at Ace. That tells you who it is. This kit, if like 10 people sat down and said, okay, well, what are we going to include? Well, let's include this. Let's not include that. Here's the thing we should consider. At the end of the day, what they came up with was a bag that you could literally walk into the store, grab it while the earth's still shaking, or the wind's still blowing, or buildings are still burning, and get out and run away. Right? No experience, no knowledge of what you're doing, um, no practical theory of what you're doing. Just panic buy. And I salute them for that. I salute them for that. That was a pretty good kit for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. Somebody with a little more experience, they're going through this kit and saying, well, what? Goggles? Maybe light duty goggles, but these were the kind you would typically find in the marked as battery goggles. That gives you an idea of how heavy they really were. Oh. Okay, catching up with the chat. What's the topic? Well, the topic is mostly weirdo rants at camera, film at 11. But what you missed was what happened last week and why I was in jail last week, and my opinion on what's going on in Afghanistan. And I think you walked in the middle of the ammo ban. You know, you could go back and watch from the start at 2 times speed and catch up, and you would be caught up right about the end. So that's a consideration. Caucasian Sasquatch says, but bug out bags believe in you. No. This is going to make a lot of people angry, and I don't give a shit. I don't believe in bug out bags. I believe in bug out cars. To give you an idea, mine is actually set up as a bug out car. It has enough equipment on it that I could get from my place to Papa Carey's, no problem, except fuel. It has enough equipment in it, except fuel, that I could get from here to my younger brother's place. That's in Squatch's neck of the woods, and not have to worry too much. I would need to worry about possibly oil and tires, which I can't practically carry in my car. If something were to happen that I have to abandon the car, I can grab the cart. Ooh, Carrie's way ahead of you here. Load up the absolutely necessary stuff, basically the camping gear, and I would have to walk from wherever it was I abandoned the car to my brother's place and pray like hell. I believe in bug out cars. For those of you that are going to say, well, the military has bug out bags. Yes, the military has bug out bags because they can rely upon having a vehicle logistics support, helicopters, trucks, something. And they can abandon equipment. They can abandon vehicles if it gets broke down. That's what they have at their advantage. That's why bug out bags can work for them. Now, you have to abandon a base because it's under direct siege. Okay, B-52 strike all around it to force the bad guys back, land a helicopter on the roof and get everybody out. And then set dynamite on a timer or a trigger device of some sort. As you're flying away, your entire stockpile of mortar rounds blows up behind you, denying the enemy at least one resource that they could have used later. It really is kind of like that. And if it all goes to worse, bomb the hell out of what used to be your base, and really try and wait until they're inside and do it then. 2-for-1 deal there. That is why bug out bags work for the military. That's also what you may not have. So, as you're trying to get from unsafe place to safe place, you have to do it entirely on foot. You're not going to be able to take a cart with you to work. That's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to carry 5 gallons of water. That's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to carry 5 days worth of food. That's not going to happen. I can march from right here to my brother's place in about 15 days. I only have 5 days worth of food in the car. And it's those packets I showed you in the video. Oh, there it is. A whole bunch of these things. Right? Actually, no. These are the 24s. Those are the 36s. That's 5 of them. Theoretically, that's an extra half day each. So yeah, I have a week's worth. That's it. That's all I would be able to carry on the cart. 5 gallons worth of water and 5 days worth of food. What am I supposed to do? I can't physically carry anything more than that. Alpine, nice boots. Wearing, what are they called? These are, I believe they're called shotgun boots by Caboots, caboots.com. And these are actually riding boots. But the very nice gentleman on the phone, yeah, he did. He called me, or I called him, one way or the other. Actually said that they could do a lower heel for walking. And I said, no, this is just for reenactments. I don't need anything more comfortable. It'll just be a few hours at a time. These boots are not part of my get home bag. My old combat boots, new combat boots, more to the point, come 2 weeks from now, are part of my get home bag. Excuse me, my bug out plan. My running shoes are part of my everyday carry. There you go. All right, so this kit is, the bag is being replaced because this was a great bag for the sort of people that it was intended for. You know, the kind that are just going to grab it off the shelf if they are in the middle of an earthquake. Throw a $20 bill at the cashier if they're being honest as they run out the door. The bag was perfectly scaled to handle that sort of people. It's not strong enough to hold up to the abuse that I'm putting it through, so I had to order a new bag, which means I'm going to have to re-sew everything. For my bug out horse. Well, if you're going to ride a horse, then yeah. And yes, they are riding boots. I'm going to mention them to Chaplain Drew as soon as I have a chance, and I'll tell him why. Maybe he'll give them a shout out as well. For all of you who care and a few who don't, Chaplain Drew is Living History Comes Alive, which is one of the basically 4 history channels I follow, along with Townsend, Forgotten Weapons, and I forgot the fourth off the top of my head. That's embarrassing. Um, and that's where I met Alpine. Um, oof. Oh, that awkward moment when your own pants betray you. Okay. Got to recenter myself. So, mine is, like I said, has been built up a little bit differently. As you're building it up, ask yourself, why am I doing this? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? And what is the reason I'm carrying this thing, whatever this thing happens to be? Uh, Almost everybody has said carry some sort of fire starting capability. And almost everybody's right. The only person who hasn't actually come out and said it that I know of was this guy. And this guy wasn't saying anything because this guy was trying to figure out what would work best for the situation I have. So I put 4 different things together. Now, one of them didn't work at all. And yeah, that was very disappointing. Um, One of them will work, but you have to work with it to make it work. Once the leather hits pavements, one of them would work really, really well, but it's cumbersome. And once you get home, for your own safety, you need to dump that part and start over again. So yeah, and I'll get into that eventually. Um, it was magnesium blocks, Zippo lighter, uh, matches, and tinder in that order. The tinder was the one that I'm kind of a little bit ambivalent about. It'll start. It's also wet, and it comes in a big pack that's intended for campers, not for getting home. And I'm working on a real safety issue that I'm concerned about. Oh, um, Alpine, I'm pretty sure it was a misunderstanding. Um, but I'm not going to get into it any further than that. It must have been something I did not see. So, might have been something that happened off camera as well. Um, you know what? That's going to bring up an interesting point. Remember, I said your attention should only be get home. As you're going along, you're going to meet people whose intentions are not to get home. Um, do not accept for a moment anything that they might try with you, but do everything you can to avoid them beforehand. You should at least have a pretty good general idea of how you're going to get home from your situation, whatever it is. Mine is a factory that's a few miles away from the house. I know exactly how to get home from there. I know 5 routes now that I can take on foot, one of which involves a back alley that I don't like. It would work. Um, and do everything you can to avoid a confrontation during that time frame. Listen, it sucks, but sometimes you're just going to have to roll away. Steer away from the problem. Even though you did nothing wrong, you're surrounded by people who will do nothing but something wrong, right? And they know they can get away with it. You know what I am actually talking about? Minneapolis. There were rapes, there were murders, there were buildings set on fire because a peaceful protest turned into possibly the worst riot I've ever seen since Los Angeles in 95. Yeah, I think it was Los Angeles 95. But it gets worse. Even the people who are supposed to be protecting you, first of all, Los Angeles 95, the first thing that went wrong was that sergeant who said, Code 4B, everybody get out of here. They may just abandon you. It gets worse. And I want to throw InRange TV a shout out for this. I had heard about the the police shooting at people in New Orleans during Katrina. I really thought that this had to be some sort of exaggeration, that there's no way that the cops just randomly shot at people crossing a bridge for no reason. I even sat there and intellectually thought about, okay, what could have happened? How could this have gone down? No, it is flat out unmitigated. I can't make any excuses here. Those cops, for absolutely no reason on earth, ran up on that bridge and shot at people who were literally just walking down the side of the street. Now, maybe they were in the middle of the road. I don't care. It's a hurricane. What difference does it make? The very people who are supposed to be protecting them turned on them like thugs, like street thugs, and nothing more. You need to worry about getting yourself to safety first, and everything else last. You will not be able, in the case of another Minneapolis or Los Angeles or New Orleans, to turn to the police for help. And you might have to just turn, the moment you see that there's police on the road ahead of you, turn a different way. The people on the New Orleans bridge, they were well up, they were trapped basically on this bridge now. They were a couple of 100 feet up the road. Well, okay, that's not trapped on the bridge. The last way to get off the bridge safely is a couple 100 feet behind them. And here's the cops coming up behind them in a Ryder truck with guns that they must have stolen from somewhere. You will not be able to depend on the police when that situation arises. You are literally on your own. You have to act accordingly. Sorry about any noise you might be hearing. Ooh. The delivery truck for the product out, I think, is what just arrived. All right. Kind of is what it is, folks. The New Orleans situation. I keep talking about you may be out overnight. Yeah, you may be out overnight. There were people who were literally trapped in office buildings that they broke into, trying to get up to dry areas in New Orleans. I know because one of my buddies from the PSU was one of the ones that had to actually help break the glass out of the office building, pull them out. It is what it is. They were stuck there overnight. No blankets, no food, very, very little water. What they did was, when they broke in, they collected up any coffee cups, styrofoam cups, anything they could find, filled those, and prayed that somebody could rescue them before they ran out of water. Well, they were not so much lucky as smart. They did a few things right. The next morning, as that HH-65 is flying overhead, they say, we got people in the building on the left. The PSU guys in a boat they stole, rolled up, pulled everybody they could find out, and took them to someplace that was safe. It was the Superdome. You don't know what happened there? Well, I'm sorry. You aren't going to hear about it from me today. Okay. So, yeah, you're going to be on your own for at least a full night. Plan accordingly. This is the only water that I will have on me when it starts. This is not going to last a full day. I know that. I'm going to have to trust the luck to find something along the way, and you're also going to have to plan accordingly to that. Now, fortunately, around here, between work and home, there's a couple places I could pick up water. One of them, it would be kind of dirty water. I know this. I have planned accordingly, and thank you, Papa Carey, for making me add that. But it is what it is. And again, plan accordingly. Okay, so I've got basically an hour to kill. So any questions, toss them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to harp on an old subject. I'm sure you all are tired of hearing about it. No, it's not the Rona. Well before the Rona came along, I had a belief that there will be another terror attack and that it is going to make 9/11 look like a joke. A really kind of mean, practical joke by comparison. The idea goes along this lines. You drop a couple hundred people into the United States with a clear idea in their mind that they are going to kill people. They're going to shoot people. It's going to be a series of mass shootings. And they're going to get away with it because by the time anybody really understands what's going on, they're already gone or worse. The only thing that's going to stop this attack is literally they crash the car. That's one way. And it, their fault, our fault, nobody's fault at all. They get into a traffic accident. That could stop it. Or some cop just happens to see the right car or a car that looks just completely ridiculously wrong, going the wrong way. He's going one way, they're going the other, and he's, that's not right. Flips around and chases them. That's the only way it ends before they planned it to end. Of the two, a not shooter at fault accident, like somebody, a drunk driver is the only thing that's realistically going to end this. There it is. And it'll be one or two maybe if we're really lucky. That assumes that they don't get out on foot and make a break for it. Cops roll up. Where's the driver? Where's the passenger? And that's when they discover, hey, this car is very interesting. They see things in the car that they don't like. I know the kind of target profiles. It'll be a lot of people, densely packed, probably not in a state of mind to be able to deal with a problem of any sort. I mean, drunk. And there's not a whole lot that you'll be able to do to slow them down. There's nothing you can do to stop them once they get inside the box being whatever building they've targeted. This theory actually starts I started having this, I thought, back in 2003 when I went on active duty the first time, or the second time rather. Other than to carry all the time, there's literally nothing we can do to stop them from doing what they intend to do or just start doing. The only thing we can do is to stop them somewhere along the way. And that stoppage will also involve whoever stopped them probably not seeing the next day. All you can really do is take them with you. That's the real world, people. As much as I hated saying, yeah, cops in New Orleans went on a wilding, I hate telling you that 9017 is a real thing. And I hate a lot of the world. But I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat and lie to you and tell you that things are going to be okay, because they're not. They're going to get worse. I thought they were bad 2 years ago. Nah, I was so delusional. I know there's people that watch this channel. Most of them are lurkers and report forgets, who are going to look for an excuse to report this live stream. It happens. Literally every live stream, I get a notification from YouTube. There's a problem with this live stream. Yeah, I know. But did I lie? Did I say anything that didn't actually happen? Did I not compare it to Inland Regional Center? I'm just comparing it to Inland Regional Center. You'll notice I say that a lot. It's like a magic talisman, or incantation, excuse me. Magical incantation. The moment I say I'm comparing it to Inland Regional Center, San Bernardino, all of a sudden, everything's fine. I almost forgot to say that, by the way. It's going to get worse. And it's going to get much, much worse. All right. On the plus side, or sort of the plus side, I've been hearing a lot of people say that they don't want to import 100,000 ISIS into the United States, and they're specifically referring to Afghans. Their fear is that ISIS or Taliban will infiltrate these refugees, and I can't say that that's not a credible threat. I can also say that vetting all these people is not going to happen. right? That's not a realistic um, thought in your head. I can say the overwhelming vast majority of them will actually be people that the U.S. owes something to. Um, I most of them are interpreters who worked with U.S. Um, or or their families. I understand and appreciate the concern. Do not assume that just because they are an Afghan refugee that they have to be a bad guy. That's not the way the world works. Even I can say not everybody who is coming out of Iran is a terrorist or a Satanist or whatever else, right? That's also not how the world works. Oh, excuse me. Oh, damn. Um, Take a long, hard moment and ask yourself, you know, could I possibly be wrong? And every time I do something like this, I actually start by asking myself, where could I be wrong? How could I be wrong? When in actually January of 2020, when the thought first hit my head that this whole thing out of China seems really strange and odd and so many coincidences lining up in just this implausible way, I looked at it and said, no, that can't be. It can't be. It can't be. And then it hit me. Not only could it be, but it probably was because of the naval exercises a couple of months earlier and the missiles that the Iran fired at American bases in Saudi Arabia that just happened to miss the target. They just happened to miss the U.S. bases they were supposedly aimed at. Coincidence, of course. For those of you that have forgotten, in October or November, October and November of 2019, Iran fired a series of 40, I think it was, theater range missiles, nation to nation, but not quite intercontinental. Uh, at well, they claimed they were aiming at U.S. military bases in Saudi Arabia, but over half of those missiles just happened to strike civilian areas in Saudi Arabia. Hmm, what a coincidence. No, fuck that. They were targeting Saudis in probably specific neighborhoods or quarter mile areas um, to target specific people that they expect to be at such and such a location at such and such a time, um, and used targeting Americans as a pretext. And then they could just say, oh, well, the Americans, they shot the missile down and it hit a civilian target. That's not our fault. Well, yes, it is. And no, we didn't. We didn't shoot the missile down. It came down exactly where you intended it to. That is also not really the way those missiles work. All right. They continue along a glide path and disintegrate in midair. They don't explode at 50 feet above ground level just randomly. Random location because we shot it down. That's not the way they work. That's when I started thinking something else is going on in China that we're not seeing. And that was the first thing is, is Iran actually capable of this sort of thing? And for those of you that will say, well, China or Iran doesn't have that kind of capability, you know what? I thought it too. And I went and looked. Yeah, they have that kind of capability. Forgot to make tea this morning. They have a lot more capability than I think anybody begins to know. All right. Everyday carry, have it as light as you practicably can. That's why mine's been cut down to my gun, my multi-tool, my knife, and spare mag. Oh, and a mask, because there are places I can't get into without a mask. Um, if you need to go anything bigger than that, it's time to start investing in a red bag. Oh, because I know he lurks in the channel. I know he's lurking here now. I forgot his name. He's from the bathtub. Anyway, yes, the bag is red. That's a very intentional point. They picked red because it'll get attention. You'll see it. The idea of keeping the red bag is that hopefully the sort of people who will molest you and bother you and make your life very, very difficult, they'll see the red and they'll say, no, that's just some common jack off. I want to go fight the cops. Let them go fight the cops. Let them go fight the National Guard. Um, as long as you're trying to leave, they will let you leave. Like on the play. There was a whole lot of that during the Summer of Love 2020 Seattle. Summer of Love 2019 Seattle, excuse me. No, it was 2020, excuse me. Um, when BLM and Antifa took over downtown Seattle, or whatever the hell it was, there were a lot of people who were trapped there, and BLM, very, very ironically, was the ones that not only let them walk, but ran interference with Antifa when they could. It was Antifa that was a little less willing to let people walk. They were a little more prone to rob people. That's because the Antifas were not locals. They didn't have food. They didn't have money. They didn't have those kinds of supplies. Whereas the BLMs were people that lived in that neighborhood. They knew the neighborhood. They had the food. They had the water. They had all those other things that they needed to be able to camp out in downtown Seattle for 2 months. Why are they going to stop you? And when the BLMs could run interference and let people that they didn't want around walk, at least for the first couple days, that's what they did. There's at least one video of a BLM member and an Antifa member actually rolling around in the street in some sort of fight where BLM was letting some white dude leave, and he looked like he had money on him. The Antifa wanted the money, and the two of them got into a fight. Oh, that's very strange and curious. How did that happen? So, look like you're trying to leave, and they'll be much more likely to let you leave. If you have to abandon your car, abandon your car. It's car. Yes, it's difficult to replace. And yeah, you spent a lot of money. And you know what? Yeah, if they steal your car and wrap it around a telephone pole, your insurance may take a hit. Your life is worth abandoning your car. And when it gets to that point, you just turn to your insurance and say, hey, you know what? Take it up with the city of fill in the blank. Guys, I'm checking to make sure my chat's still working. It has a tendency to stop working from time to time. No, that's good. All right. All right. So I am getting ready to get the last few pieces that I think I need for my kit, and quite a few pieces that I think I do not need um, for my kit. And after that, uh, I will be doing a thorough review of everything in my kit as it stands at that point um, publicly. And then on Subscribestar and Locals, by the way, I'm on Locals now. Um, there'll be the things that are not for public dissemination. Everybody in the chat right now, I think, knows what those are. Luke is not wrong. He says that run them over. You may not get a choice. It's as simple as that. For those of you familiar with that infamous video of the guy on the freeway who plowed right through protesters, uh, yeah, it was the middle of the night. He's speeding, and that's on him. But by the time he realized there was anybody in the road, it wasn't just too late to brake, it was too late to slow down. Um, I'm familiar with a case, an incident. It's not Minneapolis, it was St. Louis earlier this year, actually. There's an 18-wheeler that is going down the street, and protesters not only jumped out in front of it, one of them actually jumps up on top of the vehicle. It's a guy in a trench coat, while some other people are jumping onto the back of the truck, pulling the brake lines. This is an intrinsically dangerous situation. The truck was marked U.S. mail. Well, okay. Maybe it was just mail. It could have been any truck going down that street, including a truck filled with, oh, I don't know, toxic chemicals that were on their way to be disposed of somehow. They get into that truck and turn those chemicals loose, and what happens next? There is absolutely and without question out of Los Angeles from last year a overpass where a truck was moving along. The driver did not stop in the time frame that the protesters wanted him to stop. They drug him out of the truck and beat him to death. You may not have a choice. Oh, and there's like the Salt Lake City case. And this is a little bit clearer video than the Los Angeles case. The guy did stop. The Antifa shot at the vehicle anyway, and that's when he floored it. That's when the driver floored it. There's a reason why Salt Lake District Attorney has said they will not be prosecuting him, the driver. Absolute cut and dry self-defense. Squatched asked, Murphy and his law don't mislick, do he? No. Not much left for Murphy to cover. If it exists, I'm not aware of it. No, Luke, you do not need to shoot first and then run them over. You have to run them over. Not only do what you have to do to keep yourself safe, but do it as hard as you can. You do not, however, necessarily need to open your windows and shoot out your windows because A, that'll affect your driving capability, and B, it's not going to stop them at all. Oh, yes, that reminds me. Somewhere on my channel you will find maybe it's on BitChute. Maybe it's just on BitChute. There is a shooter's perspective video of some guy with what appears to be a .45 caliber shooting at a truck as it goes barreling by. I believe it was 3 shots fired. I did not see God damn it. I did not see the bullet strike, but I know that he did open fire. So, yeah, defensively, yeah. Shoot first and run them over defensively. You do what you have to do to keep yourself safe. Do the bare minimum until the time comes when bare minimums are no longer a requirement. That day will come too. I know everybody who follows me is thinking, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You're talking about payback. The time will come for payback. Don't worry. Keep yourself alive long enough to get there. And then you can do a whole lot more. Defensive aggression, hey, that's a real thing. There's a reason why when cops come up to a situation that they don't know or they weren't given all the information, their hand is already on their gun. There's a reason why when a cop pulls you over for a busted taillight, as they get out of the car, their hand is already on their gun. These things are real. Predatory defense, no. There's actually a term for this. It's not defensive aggression. It is something else. Come back to that in a second. I can't even remember what it's called now, but it's the reason why cops put their hands on their guns when they're pulling somebody over for a busted taillight. It's because the situation can change real hard, real fast, and they can't predict how. It is a proven fact that people sometimes use busted taillight or driving 15 miles an hour over the speed limit or whatever to get a cop's attention so that they get pulled over so that they can lean out the window and start shooting. That has happened. Okay. Squatch says, I once was abused by a woman screaming, "Get off me." I'm not sure she quite understands this whole concept of who's on who. Either Squatch doesn't understand it or that woman doesn't. And since Squatch has been here a while and he's got a rapport with me, I'm taking sides. I don't care if you like it. You kind of need to be ready to start heading out with about 5 minutes of warning. I leave my bag, what's left of it, excuse me, in my car. It's actually tucked away behind my passenger seat. Reach it from the driver's side, or I can get it from the passenger side, from the outside. Excuse me. Wow, I got the bad burps today. Um, I can reach it when I'm driving if I need to get out. I can also reach it into the car and get it out from the passenger side. And within reach of the bag is my car gun. I have a unique little way that I can hide it in the car, and you could find it if you knew how that particular model of car worked. It's an interesting detail. I'll just leave it at that. Squatch says she knew what she was doing. She was trying to play victim very aggressively. I believe him. Right? Squatch has credibility with me, and I've seen people do that. That was the whole point behind the guy jumping up on top of the truck out of out of Minneapolis. He jumped up on top of the truck so that when the driver took off, he could say, "Oh, I'm a victim." No, you're not. Right? You're lucky you're still alive. Done. Squatch done. Ooh, double done. Um, the only person I would recommend above myself that I know of would actually be casual navigation. And me and casual navigation don't always exactly see eye to eye about everything. So it is what it is. It's also another channel I do follow, and I respect his opinion 99% of the time. Um, actually, it's not casual navigation that I have a problem with. It's one of his other followers claims to have been a former Coast Guard officer. I was a bosun's mate. I do know what I'm talking about. And this guy's saying something that I know is provably wrong. Okay. On the other hand, he has an advantage. He's he's commenting under what looks like a real name. I can't give my real name because I still have kids to think about. I've already gotten doxxed a couple times. Not that there's anybody here that I know of. There's a couple of people that follow this channel that do know my real name, including one member of oh god damn it, It's Moms Demand Action's uh, um, subordinate group dedicated to students. Can't remember, Students Demand Action or something like that. One of the people that runs that organization knows my real name. She made a very interesting, uh, she made a high compliment by my standards. Um, about 2 years ago, I was commenting on this before I had some issues. I was commenting on their Facebook page, and she made a particular point. She says, "But at least you don't hide behind a fake name like most of the trolls." Thank you. All right. We don't see anything like eye to eye, but damn, that was a. I really appreciated that. Um, Matter of fact, someday when I'm back out of fascist book prison for more than 48 hours at a time, I'm going to try to reach out to her and see if I can get her in here. Okay. Gravity works. Yes. Gravity will work until everything's done. And then it'll work really, really hard instead of not work at all. I bet we could do a whole lot more than an hour, especially if we're talking about matters maritime. Because does anybody not know that I was a sailor? And a particular uh, band of sailor? Um, so yeah, I can I can talk about matters maritime for hours on end. I can actually talk so long that I bored myself. Turns out when you're the one telling the story and you were there and you saw it happen, you can bore yourself a lot more easily than you thought. I thought that was a myth. All right. We got about 15 minutes, and I'm actually ran out about 40 minutes ago. So I'm going to recap. Everyday carry, um, get home bag, start scaling it down. I'm going to get into it when I get that series started. There are things you really don't need, or if you do need, you need to ask yourself why. Um, these are nice. Not even going to lie. They smell like peanut butter. They taste like bread. That's the bad news. Good news is they will keep you alive. And they did live up to their boast about non-thirst causing. So these are really awesome. I kind of shocked to hear myself say those words. Fortunately, I don't have any kind of agreement with the company, so I'm not going to name names. Um, and always ask yourself, what are my intentions? 9017 is coming, and it's coming relatively soon now. And I know I keep saying that, and I know it comes in and it goes. What happened? Not doing a uh, brother camping here. I'm telling you, it's coming, and I don't know when, and I don't know how bad it'll really be. I can only tell you what the history of these sorts of things tells me. It's going to be. You're going to wake up if you were lucky enough to be home that night. You're going to wake up the next morning and you're going to turn on the television, And it doesn't matter what network you're on. You could be on the Cartoon Network. They're going to interrupt it with the cartoons, with CNN or somebody. They're just going to be rebroadcasting somebody else saying, this is what happened last night. And that's the way it is. All right. Yes. So it is what it is. Squatch, email me about that. This is the first I've heard. I'm very, very interested. I want everybody to say a prayer for everybody who's behind enemy lines, one way or another. What happened last night in Kabul is going to come here eventually. It's going to be a lot worse than just that. In the meantime, I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. In the meantime, keep calm and mandatory carry on. Before I go, there will be a standing stock video to replace live streams that get canceled. It's just going to be in private mode until they tell me that this live stream, that you're back in YouTube jail for something you actually could not possibly have done. Then it'll come out in private mode and be re-uploaded. Right. Now, with that, keep calm and mandatory carry on.